On Saturday night at UFC Denver, Cody Brundage attempted to act his way into another disqualification win, this time against Abdul Razak Alhassan. And I covered this in my post-fight. And this was a lot of controversial. There was a lot of people saying there was a bunch of illegal elbows. There were some people saying it was completely legal. There was a lot of people saying that Cody Brundage tried to act his way to a win, which I 100% believe. Luckily, Big Dan Murgliata gave it a no contest, so Cody Brundage wasn't able to receive a win bonus off this acting performance. But people requested this video. They wanted Cody Brundage called out because this isn't the first time he's done it. He did it against Jacob Malkoun, which we're going to take a look at in a second. He acted his way and got a disqualification win in that case because Mark Smith was the referee. We're also going to take a look at a slow-mo of every single quote-unquote illegal elbow from the Abdul Razak Alhassan fight, because there's a lot of people acting as if there were so many illegal elbows when there really wasn't. And lastly, we're going to listen to some questionable audio from Cody Brundage's corner. And we're also going to listen to some audio from Big Dan Murgliata where he breaks down what he saw in the cage right after the stoppage. So we're going to listen to all that in this video. Now, before we play any of these videos, I've recorded all these. I've slowed all these down. I will link the unlisted version of all three of these videos down in the description. If anybody else wants to use them, whether it's for Twitter, Instagram, other content creators, this is a disgrace. We can't allow a precedent to be set for guys to just sit here and try to bait fouls and then act their ways to DQ wins. I understand that fighters need to be penalized more for illegal actions. I'm getting, quite frankly, tired of, the fence grabbing and the eye pokes and the groin shots and this and that. But this is unacceptable. This dude is waiting for some glancing foul so then he can flop around on the floor and act it like he was brutally assaulted or hit by a car, when in reality there was very limited actual impact. And we're going to see that in this first clip I'm going to show you, because what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you real time Jacob Malkoun, what I believe is an illegal elbow. I believe this is an illegal elbow. It mainly lands to the base of the neck with the forearm. It's not actually even the elbow. I believe it was illegal, but watch Cody Brundage's initial reaction in real time. Then we're going to see what he looked like 45 seconds later. So let's take a look. So there's it in real time, right there in real time. It looked illegal in real time. Mark Smith jumps in. Now, I want you to watch Cody Brundage's initial reaction. He looks up at the ref, he throws his hands up, and then he smirks. He puts a shit-eating grin on his face because he knows, look, I'm getting dominated in this fight. I'm going to act my way to a DQ now. Look at him right here. Look, eyes up on the ref, totally coherent, throwing both hands up in the air, okay? I want you to contrast that with what I'm going to show you in another 5 seconds here. Look, smirking over at the corner right there. Smirking over at his corner, right? So the ref stops it. Now, in a second, we're going to see what he looked like 45 seconds later. 45 seconds later, this was Cody Brundage. Look at this. This man is acting like he was hit by a car. I mean, seriously, he looks like he got hit over the back of the head with a baseball bat, which couldn't be further from the truth. We're going to look at the elbow in slow-mo here in a second. But look at this. Look at this. Look at this, man. Look, he desperately wants that win. He desperately wanted that win. Now, next, this is going to be the slow-mo of the elbow itself. Now, in this particular case, I believe this was an illegal elbow because the back of the head is not only the mohawk, but it's also the base of the neck. You cannot elbow or punch to the back of the neck, which in this case, the forearm of Jacob Malkoun landed, but it wasn't like super significant impact. The actual impact was at the elbow area, and it didn't even touch Cody Brundage, okay? But again, I do believe he got hit here, but he's putting on a total and utter, complete, embarrassing Academy Award-winning performance, and it's really not even Academy Award-winning, but Mark Smith is easily impressed by acting skills. Watch this elbow. So it clearly lands. Don't get me wrong, it clearly lands. But for that elbow to land like that, and we'll take a look at another angle here in a second. We'll take a look at another angle. And it's just not super impactful, and it's mainly at the base of the neck. Watch. Again, slow down here. Here's another angle. There you go. Don't get me wrong, it lands, but does that land enough to warrant this? Is that the reaction of that level of elbow? Let's be real. Ben Askren didn't look like this after he got flying knee KO'd in 5 seconds by Jorge Masvidal. This is a complete and utter acting job. And he tried to pull the same thing against Abdul Razak Alhassan. Now, what I'm first going to show you here, it's a little bit out of order. I'm going to show you when it got stopped, the elbows closest to the stoppage, and then we're going to go back and look at the elbows up against the fence. So we're going to start off with the kind of flurry finishing sequence, and then we're going to go back and look at the elbows up against the fence because there were some people questioning the elbows up against the fence. So watch this. This is in slow-mo. I slowed this down right to the side of the head. Right to the side of the head there. Okay? Then this one. Let's take a look at this one. That's to the side of the head as well. Completely to the side of the head. He's in on that single leg. Now right here, you can't really see it, but it kind of hits the arm. Keep in mind, I want you to keep in mind the positioning of Big Dan Miragliotta, okay? He has the best view of all these shots. The best view of all these shots. Okay, but we're looking at super slow-mo here. Okay, here's a little bit change of a camera angle because Big Dan was getting in the way. So we can't really see these, but look at the positioning of Big Dan. You can see him decently. Look, that one clearly just right off the arm of Cody Brundage. Let's see, I'm still looking for an illegal one. I'm still looking for an illegal one. Again, okay, that one's like almost a punch. It really is a punch under the armpit. Okay, we're going to go through these one by one. Throws another punch underneath the armpit. And now we're getting real close to the finish here. We're getting real close to the finish. Okay, he's throwing punches. Cody Brundage is desperately holding on to the single leg. He throws another punch under the armpit. That kind of hurts Brundage. Brundage is ready to pack it in. He starts throwing more elbows. Now, I know some people are saying this is 12-6. 12-6 has to literally be straight up and down. And this is kind of close. But even if you're a little bit off, if you're 12.05 to 6.05, you're perfectly fine. I think this was at enough of an angle. And Big Dan Miragliotta, who, again, he's got the best view in the house, you'll listen to what he had to say about these elbows here in a second and whether or not they were 12-6. Watch this. So he throws that one. You can't really see. We can't really see from this angle, but Cody's kind of on his side here. Big Dan's staring at him. Okay. Big Dan's getting in close. That one grazes. That one grazes, but there's no real impact there. Okay. Okay, and then here, I think this is like the last few. That forearm, that elbow completely misses and the forearm touches the back of the neck. Let's rewind that a little bit. There was no real impact here, and that was one of the worst ones. Okay? That's the one I believe that made Big Dan jump in. Watch. You'll see him in a second. And then you see this last one. Boom, right to the side of the head. Okay, and then a third one. I thought that was where he jumped in, but I was wrong. Okay? Okay, here's the one. I'm sorry. Here's the one where he jumped in. So let me go back a little bit. So you have a couple that missed the side of the head and completely missed the head here. And he kind of forearms the back. Look, forearms the back there. There's a little bit of impact, but not really. There's really no impact there. Okay? You can call them close to being illegal. That one's to the side of the head. And then he finally jumps in. He finally jumps in here. Okay? So he finally jumps in. Again, I'm going to go back and look at the one that made the two that made Big Dan jump in here. Watch. The two that made Big Dan jump in here. Okay? That one misses, and then he kind of comes down along the base of the neck. And then this one's clearly side of the head. And then Big Dan jumps in. Okay? That's what happened. Now, we're going to take a look at the elbows that are up against the fence here. We're going to look at the replay. Actually, I think it's going to show another replay of those elbows of the finishing. No, it is the ones up against the fence. Okay, good. Here's the elbows up against the fence, because some people were saying the elbows up against the fence were illegal. These were not even close to illegal. If you want to say one or two of those, the forearm, because he was missing with the elbow and then the forearm was grazing the back, these are clean as can be. These are perfectly clean. These are clean as can be. These are literally touching the ear. At no point are these even debatable about being illegal, okay? Not even close. Not even close at all. Not even close to being illegal. And that's what hurt Cody Brundage to begin with. He wanted to quit after those elbows. So, if you want to go back, you want to say, you know, the one right before the stoppage, this one right here, if you want to say, okay, this landed partially, fair enough. Fair enough. If you think that did any actual real damage, quantifying of a DQ stoppage, that's crazy. Most of the other ones were blatantly legal, okay? There were some ones where, like, man, maybe. But you have to remember, the back of the head is just this mohawk area that lines up with the neck. That's the back of the head. And then you have, okay, his corner begging him to stay down. And we actually have some audio. It's not really super clear to make out. But they say, Cody, listen, they're going to stop it. They're going to stop it. I'm going to play that audio for you here in a second. But I want to address some of the things that people have said. Like, oh, Big Dan Miragliotta was warning him multiple times. First off, referees shout the rules nonstop, which makes no sense to me. Penalize them when they commit fouls, and you don't need to shout the rules over and over again. He screams, watch the back of the head multiple times, but he never stops it for a back of the head shot. And he also says, good job, which you'll hear here in a second. So you'll hear him say, watch the back of the head, and then you'll hear him say, good job. So listen to this.
Watch the back of the head.
So watch the back of the head. He watches the back of the head. He starts throwing punches.
Good
job. And then here's where he's getting ready to jump in and stop it, okay? So we're going to listen to some audio, what he has to say right after he stops it. Time. Look at Cody Brundage, by the way. Perfectly fine. Looking over at his corner. Oh, sure. What happened? What happened here? At first, I think he thought it was a TKO. And look, he's throwing his hands up, complaining about the stoppage. He's throwing his hands up. He's looking back at the ref, complaining of the stoppage here, okay? Complaining of the stop. Look at his hand right here. Ridiculous. And then watch what Big Dan says. The back of the head. How many shots? Big Dan had the best vantage point of anyone. He was on top of it. Great positioning by Big Dan Miragliotta.
Two times.
He says 2 times there was elbows that landed to the back of the head, and then they cut to a replay here. Or no, they don't cut to a replay. I'm sorry. I'm edited because right here he even talks about the 12-6 elbows, because there's some people saying even if it wasn't back of the head shots, it was 12-6 elbows. I do not believe it was 12-6 elbows, and neither does Big Dan Miragliotta. Listen, because you can have the slightest angle on an elbow, and it's not illegal. So it can be literally like this, which looks straight up and down, but it's not really. And listen to Big Dan.
You were just enough of an angle.
Illegal elbow to the back of the head. That
you were just enough of an angle, but be careful.
Last September, when Brundage was
and then he goes over to Cody Brundage, and we're going to get to the
unable to continue. He didn't want to win like.
Look, looking over at his corner, basically, asking to have a stoppage here, and the commentary calls it out, and that's what made me listen very closely to the corner advice, because the corner advice is telling him, stay down, you got this.
That Brundage is looking over to his corner and saying, what happened? He does not know what happened.
Okay.
His corner's trying to signal to him, stay down, you're okay.
The corner's trying to signal to him, stay down, you're okay. Yes, stay down because you're going to get another DQ win is what he was trying to do, because that corner gets a cut of his purse as well, because he trains with those guys. They get, a percentage of these fighters' purse in most scenarios, okay? And that's not the worst audio. That's not the worst audio.
The back of the head right now.
Right here. Big Dan saying, look, you got plenty of time. Cody's like, oh, I got to act this up. Let me pretend like, I was brutally hit by a car and, I need to be, sent out to an emergency facility. And his corner, listen very carefully here. It's hard to tell. I'm hoping one of you guys can tell me exactly what's said. Some of you guys who have, ultrasonic hearing. But I heard basically, Cody, listen, they're going to stop it. Basically, keep it up. Keep acting like you got hit by a car. Guys like Terry Edom, who got brutally KO'd by Edson Barboza. Guys like Ben Askren, who got brutally KO'd by Jorge Masvidal, got up and were, more recovered than Cody Brundage in this scenario here, which is crazy. And I actually believe Cody was hurt earlier in the fight, and so I do give him a little bit of leadway, but he knew what he was doing here. I mean, he had 4.5 minutes to recover. He won it out, and he was hoping and praying that he would get a DQ win here, which luckily he wasn't handed to him. But listen to the corner audio here.
Yes.
The discretion ultimately.
Cody, listen. I'm going to rewind that one more time so you guys can listen to it. And again, you can go check out these unlisted videos. And right before that, they asked Big Dan. Those were back of the head, right? Listen.
Right now.
Yes.
That's back of the head. He says yes. Maybe Big Dan wasn't responding to them. He could have been responding to having the doctor come in. But either way, they said, that's back of the head. That's back of the head. They're screaming that to Cody. And then they say, listen, Cody.
I think the discretion ultimately, it would mean a no contest if that's what.
I think they're going to stop it. Or I think it's going to get stopped. Something along those lines.
It's deemed.
Hey, coach, please.
And then Big Dan tells him to shut up because they're coaching Brundage into a DQ victory here. Luckily and thankfully for Big Dan Miragliotta, he realizes, look, they were battling it out. There was some crazy movement, crazy exchanges. There was a couple that were questionable. He did say there was one that was clear, which again, I think it's this one where it's funny how it's exactly the same as, or I'm not even on the right video, but it's funny how it's exactly the same as previous, where it kind of touches the base of the neck with very little impact. So Cody Brundage had a flashback of this. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to try to get a DQ win here, because the way the UFC's pay is structured, you get paid show pay and win pay. So because of the structure of UFC pay, he's trying to eke out a win here where he wasn't going to actually win like he did against Jacob Malkoun by putting on this utterly disgraceful performance. So this is all to say, listen, I understand that there's fouls. I understand some of these guys, you know, are in a place where they cannot continue. I do not believe in any way, shape, or form either one of these fights from Cody Brundage was him legitimately devastated by a shot. I believe he took the easy way out in both these fights, and this should not be applauded. This is an utter, complete embarrassment. It is a disgrace to the sport. And look, to be honest, I feel like Aljamain Sterling is the one that kind of started this. A lot of people saw what he got there. He kind of faked his way into a title, which it is what it is. At least that illegal knee kind of landed with decent impact. But this is just, I mean, this is getting ridiculous. And this is now the second time he's done it. He's looking for these opportunities to try to weasel his way into a victory. I find this completely humiliating. I think his corner encouraging him to stay down, encouraging him to get the fight stopped, encouraging him to try to get a DQ win. I just think it's a really bad look for all parties involved. Luckily, Big Dan ruled it a no contest. Hopefully they booked the rematch, or hopefully they just cut Cody Brundage from the roster. He doesn't belong on the UFC roster anyway. All he does is basically show up, throw a couple big shots in the first 10 seconds, and then look for a DQ. That's all he does. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.